Welcome back, everyone, to our mini course on how to... Oh, no, Maria's gonna... This is uncertainty! That was good, uncertainty.
I just had to do it.
Gotta roll with it, right? Okay. You're good. You got whatever your face to do with that.
It's just a little one.
Welcome back, everyone, to our mini course on how to deal with uncertainty. In the first lesson, we talked about how it's normal to go through these periods, especially when you're dealing with a new context. And then in the last lesson, we talked about the one thing that you can do to feel less alone. And today, once again, we have with us my good friend Maria Molfino, who is a Stanford trained behavior designer and life coach. She helps busy professional women get from a point of uncertainty to clarity. So in today's lesson, Maria, this is our last lesson. I know it's going to be a juicy one, like you said.
Yeah.
And we're going to be starting to talk about some really practical, actionable items today.
Yes, and I love this lesson because we're really talking about taking action, and it's really practical. And you know, both you and I are meditators and yogis, and so we love insight, we love introspection. But I'm also a behavior designer, and you're also an entrepreneur, and we love action. Insight without action, you know, you really can't obtain true transformation if you don't have both of them align. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Great.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So I know one of the problems that a lot of people have is to actually, you know, not get stuck just thinking in their heads.
Yes.
And to actually move forward. And a lot of people I coach have that struggle.
Totally.
So do you have some strategies for how they can get out of their head and start to take some progress?
Yeah, it's important to first understand that there are three ways people deal with confusion. The first is some people really like to think about it, and they go on, and they just, either they reflect or they ruminate, right? And they're worried, and they're in bed, and they're just churning this problem in their head again and again, right? So they think about it. And the second is people like to talk about it. This might be with a coach or a mentor, or it could be with your friends, and you're just chit-chatting about what decision to make. Should I do this or should I do that? And people love to do that as well. And then the third step is to do something, to actually take some form of action. You know, and what's interesting in here is that often people don't feel ready to take action. So like, I can't move forward, I can't take action, I'm not ready yet. I need to make sure I'm ready before I can take action. Or they feel like they don't have clarity. So if I'm not clear, how can I take action? But actually, what we're saying, you know, in this video and in this lesson is that you need to sort of take action in order to get the clarity.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So I know, you know, a lot of people that I coach, they look at me and they're like, oh, you know, you're good, you can experiment, you're an engineer, you're an entrepreneur, and that's true. I'm very comfortable with taking some action, experimenting, playing around, and that oftentimes helps me get to clarity. Yeah. But I know for a number of our viewers out there that it might be really difficult, right? They get stuck in their head in those first two phases of rumination or just talking to other people. So do you have some more strategies on how they can actually feel more comfortable and feel like they're ready to take action? Yeah,
I agree with you that people love to get stuck in the sort of the first two, right? The thinking about it and talking about it. And the third one is a lot harder for them to do. So what I like to say is, if let's say you have a decision you're thinking about taking. And the example I like to give is, should I switch jobs? Let's say you're thinking, you've been thinking about it for months, and you're like, should I change jobs? And you've talked about it and you've thought about it, right? So the first step is to write down that decision. Write it down, and write it down clearly, and sort of all the things that are going through your head related to that decision, okay? And then the second step is to choose a step that you can take, and this is the key. This step is going to challenge any limiting beliefs you have, okay, with real data. So let's say you want to switch jobs, but you're not sure if your resume is up to date yet. And you're like, oh, I don't know. So in your head, you've been thinking about that, and you've been going back and forth about your resume. Well, we're going to challenge that with real data. You're going to go and ask 3 mentors for feedback. You're going to show your resume to 3 mentors, and you're going to actually ask for feedback. So in this step, you're just choosing that step. You're just saying, okay, what's the step that I can take that's going to challenge my thoughts and my limiting beliefs, and it's going to show me real data from the environment, okay?
Yeah.
So that's the second thing.
So I think that's great to have some real data to get some results. Yeah. But I know for a number of people that I coach, and you've probably experienced this as well, this is the phase where people get really overwhelmed.
Totally.
They're like, I don't know which is the first step. If I'm changing jobs, do I want to look at my resume? Do I want to look at companies? Do I want to find a mentor? Oh my God, like where do I begin?
Yeah.
So how can we get people over that feeling of being overwhelmed?
Yeah. So once you've chosen the step, right? Let's say you've written down the problem decision, you've chosen that step. The key is to break it down so that it's not intimidating anymore to you. So you're going to get it to the smallest possible unit so that you don't feel intimidated to take that step. So we have the example of showing 3 mentors your resume for feedback. So if that feels still overwhelming to you, what is something that would be smaller? Let's bring it back. Okay, you're going to show 1 friend, someone you trust. You're going to show them your resume and ask for feedback, okay? And then you'll build up to bigger steps. But just take it and break it down. And I think that people often forget to do this, right? They feel overwhelmed and they forget that they can just really just divide it into a smaller piece and then move forward and progress and continue having that momentum, And finally, it's do the thing, take the step, do it. And no matter how ridiculously small it is or itty bitty, go for it.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, I know in my life, one point where I was dealing with a lot of uncertainty and I wanted to get clarity was when I lost my first job. And I thought, no one's going to hire me, and I don't even know if the skills that I have are up to date. But what I ended up doing was, like you said, I made a decision. So the first decision I made was to go out and meet with a mentor.
Yeah.
And the first thing that they said was, you're good, you will be employable. So that was a relief.
Yeah.
I got some data, I got some results, some feedback. I got out of my head, and that was helpful. And then together we put together a little plan. So the first baby step for me was go back, polish that resume. And then the second baby step was think about what kind of position you want. And then the third was what kind of company do you want to be at. And that was really helpful to just kind of take it one step at a time.
Yes. Yeah. And I think having a coach or mentor sort of facilitate you through that process is really powerful, because we keep having this thought, I'm not ready yet. I don't have clarity. How can I possibly move forward if I'm not? You have to move forward in order to get the clarity. That's the whole point.
No, I think that's great. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us in this mini course on how to deal with uncertainty. In the last 3 lessons, we've talked to you about the first being, if you're going through a period of uncertainty, it's normal, it's natural, and the point is to just sit with it. The second point that we talked about was when you're going through these periods of uncertainty, you may feel really alone, but the key is to start building up a support group. And the third topic, which we talked about today, is when you are going through periods of uncertainty and you want to get to clarity, you've got to start by taking some action, and that can get you to a point of clarity. So thank you again, Maria, for joining us.
Thank you.
And if all of you out there want to work with Maria, she has some free exploratory sessions, and you can find out more by visiting her website, mariamolfino.com/sessions. And if you've enjoyed this video course and you want to share it with your friends, please send them the link, and feel free to subscribe to Femgineer TV to stay up to date on our upcoming mini courses. Thank you. Ball of clarity!
Give me some clarity. Gotta get on, girl.
Got a deep breath.